Miles Davis joins us as he will every single Wednesday. Sport equals MD squared. Miles, welcome back, mate.
Yeah, how's it going, old bean?
Sometimes you get a little bit of intel and sometimes you get it right. We were reporting last week, heard on the grapevine that Jett Cleary was coming. Well, they're reporting at the Daily Telegraph. This has just dropped that he will be with the Warriors as the understudy to Sean. So I guess it means Sean stays on for another year. Great news for the Wars, mate.
Yeah, really good news. And do you know one thing? You mentioned Sean Johnson. I've always been a big fan of his, and I thought that he copped, sort of unwarranted stick so many times over the years. It was almost as if the Warriors didn't win; it was Johnson's fault. You know, I mean, okay, there were games where he didn't play as well as perhaps he could have done. But I always felt that there was too much onus put on and too much blame put on him. And it was so good to see him have such a great season last season. And I'd like to see him go out on a high. I'd almost advise him, get out now before they can start turning on you again.
Well, actually, you're being a little bit humble for the fact that your team absolutely knobbed us last week. I mean, this is the thing with the Dragons. You've won 4 games out of 7, mate, but the 4 that you've won, you've been so convincing, and then you just turn it up and turtle the next game you play. Explain.
Yeah, I've got to say that I'm absolutely flummoxed by the way that the Dragons have actually won a game this season, let alone 4. And again, I talk about the Warriors. They cop so much stick I've seen over the weekend. Suddenly turn... They're sort of a 50% record at the moment. 1-3, lost 3, drawn 1. And yet they're being sort of, abused by so many in the media that are coming out. Oh, they're pretenders, they're this, they're that. Well, why is this? Why is it have to turn so bitter? Hey, if they're in the bottom 3 or 4 at the end of the season, by all means, give them some stick. But they're only, at 1 point or something out of the top 8. They can be, another win or 2 and they'll be in the top 5 or 6. And then once you're in the playoffs, we've seen what happens before. They can do the business.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't understand this leaping on board. And it's almost as if, do you know what it reminds me of? And I know it's different because it's an individual. The way everyone turned on Michael Campbell when his form dropped. And it's, there was a guy who was an individual doing we got reflected glory on him winning the US Open and when he did well. But as soon as he started having a few issues and playing, people just piled into him. And I can understand if you're a passionate supporter of the Warriors, if you get frustrated with them during the season and have a go at them. But I reckon if you went and spoke to the faithful, the core there, they're still happy. They're still happy turning up at Mount Smart and supporting them, and they're not panicking yet.
No, how can you not be happy if you are a Warriors fan? How can you not be happy after what you've seen last year and this year? 2 things, mate. A, you want your team to be competitive. You want them to be playing something that is actually worth watching. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going down the West Ham Road now here. Right, okay. So, no, no, it's not about...
Yeah, I know. They are they're an entertaining side, and that NRL is a tough competition. How many times over the years do you see a team will win by 40 one week and they'll lose by 40 the other? There's only about 2 or 3 sides that have got the consistency through a season that don't have those sort of real blips, and even they have the odd one. I'm not saying that the Warriors are going to go on and make the grand final or anything like this, but it's far too early to start abusing them. And frankly, if you've suffered like I have, 2.5 years of the most boring sport you've ever seen in your life, then fair enough, have a go. But it's only 7 games into the season.
Miles, okay, so what Miles is talking about here is, and you just have constant social media wars, and with other West Ham fans about whether David Moyes is the right guy in the job, and your thing is all about entertainment. Fans go along, they want to pay, they want to see some football, they want to see some end-to-end stuff, they don't want to see turn around, pass it back with your ass, do they? And do people question whether or not you're a true fan or not? This is what I don't get. Who is anyone else to judge anyone else's level of fandom?
Yeah, that happens a lot. I think the thing that annoys me more is pundits who've got no connection with the club, or fans who've got, from other clubs saying, you should be grateful for what you got. He's the great man. He's done what. Look at us. And they don't understand. It's not. I don't care. I got accused once of being a terrible fan, saying I'd rather Allardyce went and West Ham were in the 2nd division and get rid of Allardyce. They said, "What sort of fan are you?" And I went back and said, "Mate, what, you mean you wouldn't support them in the 2nd division? which one of us is a bad fan? You know? And someone said to me, "Oh, professional football nowadays is about winning." No, it's about the fans. The fans pay the money. The fans pay the subscriptions. They buy the merchandise. They exist. They're there for 20, 30 years before a manager or a player, and they're there for 20 or 30 years after it. It's all about them, and they want to be entertained. It's not about just winning. Okay, I've seen money's been thrown into it now, so for the owners, whatever, but the reality is it's entertainment. 60,000 people don't turn up at the London Stadium on a weekend to watch West Ham just to see a result. They want to be entertained. Some guy said, well, if you want to be entertained, go to the cinema. I'm thinking, you know, what sort of moron are you, mate?
What is the chance of all three of these teams winning over the weekend? Wars beating Titans, Satyrs beating the Rebels. Even though the Rebels have won 5, Satyrs won 1, I don't know why. I still think that Canterbury side is still in with a chance of making the finals. And the Knicks winning. What's the chance of all three of those across the next 3 days?
I think I'm going to put money on it now that you just mentioned that, and I was just cogitating my way through it. The Crusaders, I mean, and the Rebels have had some really decent results,
yes,
surprisingly,
yes, they have.
For it. Like, really won. But I just think that this wounded animal, it's got to fight back sooner or later. I thought their loss to the Western Force was a crushing blow. I mean, that was the most embarrassing result, I think, of the season. There's been ones that have been close. That was embarrassing to a side that really should be bottom of the table. But I can see them beating the Rebels. They're at home. They're going to do the business. The Knicks are going to win. And the Warriors, I mean, I think the Titans, are they bottom or second bottom? I mean, they're right down there as well. I think the Warriors are going to bounce back and have a comfortable win. So I think it's terrific. In fact, of all of them, the ones that I think might slip up will be the bleeding Phoenix, because they're the ones that give you all the hope and you know, will win 3-0 against the top side, and then they'll go and draw at home by giving the goal away in the last minute.
Speaking of giving goals away, what were Chelsea up to today? And the second part to that question is Arsenal win 5-0. Now they go away to Tottenham. At the end of the weekend, Miles, if they can beat Chelsea and Tottenham, 2 local derbies, does that rearrange your thinking in terms of can they actually win this thing?
Well, I told you a few weeks ago that if they got a result up at City, that I felt that they could kick on and win it. Okay, there was the hiccup losing at home to Villa. But they just look a different side, and I don't want to sort of claim credit for it. That Declan Rice, my old mate, is in there. Yep. He's made such a massive, massive difference. And the fact that he's playing in a better side with a manager that encourages attacking play, it just shows exactly the range of his skills. And even the likes of Kai Havertz. I mean, he was like,
reasonably rubbish for
thing
Chelsea,
at a wedding, wasn't he? When he was at Chelsea, he was really struggling, but they've had faith with him, and he's just blossoming. And that Chelsea side, there's something obviously going on in the background. I mean, Pochettino's not a bad manager, he'd be right up there, but for years they've had too many players in the squad, too many egos, like high-profile players. They've kept the wrong ones. I mean, that's a side that got rid of De Bruyne, Salah and Lukaku.